Hi, welcome to Blaze Hackman Industries once again. Bit of a different video today. Today we are going to settle in. Let me settle in. We're going to read rejection letters and learn life lessons. My name's actually Steve, so if you hear me reading out something that refers to Steve in this video, it's about me. And I've been in the media for, 30 years, since I was 19. My 50s now. Been doing it for a while, and it was very hard to break in. And I'm kind of like, as an actor, I'm that guy you might have seen, guy in a lot of cases you might not even recognize, but I'm there. I'm playing supporting characters. I'm always that guy there, and there's been a lot of rejection during this process. And I guess here's the lesson, the biggest lesson that I'll give you at the beginning of the video, which should be at the end, which is that you just got to keep going. It sounds pretty obvious, but there's not many people my age still doing what I've done. I reckon out of my drama school, out of the year I did, maybe, I know myself and one or two other people are still kind of performing. The people are in other industries or facets of the arts or out of it completely. I got a big fat folder here, and it does have achievements written on it. But it's transparent. It's a magic folder, but we might do achievements later on, but it's got a whole bunch of letters in there, right, that are rejections. And so I've just got to dig them out. But the point is, right, I remember when I tried to get a gig in commercial radio, because I started out in radio. I was hitchhiking down on the Mornington Peninsula down in Victoria in Australia, and didn't know what to do with my life. I left home at 17. I mean, I wanted to work in the media. I probably wanted to work in radio, but I just didn't know my way in. I was too busy trying to survive. And then I was on a petrol truck. Some guy picked me up. It was like a BP petrol truck, and I heard on the radio, "Do you want to work in radio? Come to our radio school." So I got accepted at a place called the Radio Works, and then I trained, I don't know, on and off, because I was doing a job at the time as a clerical officer and working at the Museum of Victoria 2 days a week. And at night I would go to radio school and had to stay in a terrible place called Gordon House, just to survive. And, I went through a lot of stuff back in the day to facilitate my way into the media. And then, so this radio school thing was a great thing to be a part of. It cost me a little bit of money. And then, as I remember, I got a job in a commercial station, midnight to dawn, but it was only temporary. And then the person who got the job full-time, they came in and started working. So I left and went and lived with my parents up in Queensland. And then I came back to Melbourne, and I was working in a place called Dress Circle. And all I did was measure trousers all day long. And after a few months of that, and pretty much just procrastinating, I just called up the guy that I used to work for on radio. I said, "Any jobs available?" He goes, "I've been trying to get a hold of you." "Yes." "You want to do the midnight to dawn shift?" So I got that midnight to dawn job. But the point is that in that time, I had also been applying for a lot of jobs, and I must have gone for about 30 radio jobs. And I think I got all of those rejection letters and another couple from different areas of life. And I had a huge pile of them. And in a move, I lost all these, but I was going to make an installation called the Wall of Rejection, and just a whole plastic pane, and put all those A4 letters there with every rejection. And the pane would rotate, so you could look at it from both sides, and there was enough rejection letters from either side. But anyway, what's interesting is that I don't have many of these left. But I'm going to read them to you, because some of them, I'm going to go from, some of them aren't that bad. And I'll go to the good stuff later on, like what I get accepted into. But you've got to be tenacious. You've got to be the last person standing. Anyway, there's a little festival in Sydney in Australia. I think I might have gone global now. It's called Trop Fest. And back in the day, It's very competitive. And I made a film for this called Love, Death. I think I posted it on my channel. And I put it in Tropfest 97. This film cost me about $7,000 at the time, back in 96. Put it into Tropfest 97. And you can see here that back then it was just all A4. Like the whole program was on A4. I mean, your correspondence. And I must say, I think that when I did the program, it was also on A4. That's what I'm trying to say. But the rejection letter came from Tropfest 97. 10th of February. Dear Steve, I am sorry to inform you that your film, Love, Death, has not been chosen as a finalist for Tropfest 97. The standard of filmmaking was very high this year. Choosing the finalists was extremely difficult. Each film was independently seen by 4 people and a shortlist compiled. The shortlisted films were then screened to the pre-selection panel and the finalists chosen. As you may already know, your film will be playing in the general screenings at various cafes along Victoria Street. Love, Death is included in Program 1. Enclosed, you will find a general screenings timetable. I think that was on A4 too. And look, like it's just printed out in monochrome. Thank you for being involved in Tropfest and putting time and effort into making your film. If so, indicated on your entry form, your film will be included in the Tropfest package, which we'll be sending out to various festivals and TV networks throughout the world, which didn't happen for me. In the event that your film is chosen, we will, of course, let you know. Regards, John Paulson. It's actually quite a polite and nice and well thought out letter. But this festival, I've got friends on the panel of this. I think I was never going to get into this festival. And they put a lot of effort into it. I think my shit's just too weird because it was a apocalyptic film about a world virus. And it was shot on 16mm, starring moi. And I think it was, just a bit too strange for people. And, maybe I don't know, because sometimes you can persist in a pursuit and you may believe yourself and you might have watched Rudy too many times and think, no one's more important than me. I can do it. I can get through any obstacle. And you could actually be shit. You'll never know. But as far as Rejection goes, that was pretty good. And then we went to the Tropicana Hotel or the cafe and went there that night and watched my film. But it was back in the kind of old, everything was 4x3 and, we were in a noisy cafe and it was at elevation, like it was 10 feet above people and we were all trying to watch it. So it wasn't that good. So I want to do these in kind of a particular order. There's not that many because I've lost so many of these rejection letters, right? A lot of the themes the same, which is, no thanks. This one's from WAPA, which is the Western Australian Academy of Performing Arts. So, I mean, around Australia and overseas, people know 2 things about Australian actors. They either think of Home and Away or Neighbours, or they think of NIDA. And then you've got other fantastic teaching institutions. I was accepted into Charles Sturt University in the acting program in Wagga. But the more profile ones were VCA in Victoria, which I got through a couple of rounds with. NIDA, I got through like 1 round and then got knocked out, or maybe 2. And then I also did an application for Western Australian Academy of Dramatic Arts. I think Hugh Jackman went here. It's more of a kind of a musical based degree, I would say, for singers, and not exclusively, but it is a well-respected institution in Western Australia. I applied for this, and this is 1997. Mr. Stephen, blah, blah, blah. I was living in Melbourne at this point in time. Dear Stephen, thank you for your audition and your work at The Recall. So you go in, you do an audition, and then they call you back again. I don't know if it was the same day or on another day. It might have been another day. As I've told you on the day, you have been put on our reserve list. However, as most of the offers have been accepted, it seems unlikely that we'll be able to offer you a place. We'll be able to inform you of a final decision either way by the end of December. If your circumstances change, you're offered a place by another school, please keep us informed by our secretary. Our best wishes for the future. Yours faithfully, Rhys McConaughey, head of theatre. So that's another nice rejection letter. I would have been very happy to go to that school and it would have completely changed my destiny. I ended up going to another school in Western Sydney called Theatre Nepean, University of Western Sydney, doing their Bachelor of Arts degree in performance. And Australian actor David Wenham was one of my big inspirations for going there. But I say with those acting schools, I went to about 4 or 5 of them. With radio schools and radio stations, I applied for 20 stations. With Tropfest, I went into it again, maybe once or twice more, still didn't succeed. But the main thing is you keep going, right? Because if you're tendering for a project in life, or you're an entrepreneur, or you're anyone with some kind of pursuit, and then you've just got to have an unwavering belief in yourself. And it's almost like a thing that's part of your DNA. It's almost like a delusion. If you're a shit actor, you still need to be deluded enough to keep going so that someone can give you the advice along the way, but you still got to be in the arena, right? You got to be the man in the arena. So over my time, I've written about 4 or 5 screenplays. So I was always, always wanted to be an actor. So radio was like a side venture because I'd read up on Orson Welles and the Mercury Theatre of the Air. And back in the 1930s, the stars were not necessarily motion picture stars. They were radio stars, and people used to gather around the radio. And so that's why I thought radio is a good viaduct into, or conduit, or what do you want to call it, into performing. But it was commercial radio, and we're just playing the same songs over and over again. And after years of that, I just got sick of it. So then I was trying to write projects for myself, and I wrote various projects for myself. I've written about 3 or 4 screenplays and short films as well. And I wrote this one set in the Museum of Victoria. It was a horror movie, and I called it Xenocide. And I didn't really know much about formatting film then. So I just wrote all the big print, which is the directions, in capital letters. So pretty much, I think, as from memory, I don't have a copy of it. Oh, it's probably in the archive somewhere, and I'll have to dig it up for my children one day. But the point is that with that, it's like when you've got big print directions, it's like the script is screaming at you the whole way through. So even in the intimate scenes, you're being screamed at. And I mean, it was a bit naive, but I was having a red hot go. Anyway, this is from Rick Raftos Management. And I got this in 1995, this letter. And as I'd submitted my screenplay, and this is one of my favorite, it's my second favorite rejection letter of all time that I've still got. But these are the top 2 you're about to hear. This one, excuse me. Dear Steve, thank you for the opportunity to assess your feature screenplay, Xenocide, capital letters. This is not from Rick Raftos. This is from Marnie Bates, right? As may have been mentioned to you, we're only taking on new clients in exceptional circumstances, generally when we feel we can sell a project immediately. Unfortunately, your project does not meet this criteria. One of the major problems I had with the script was the layout. I almost stopped at the first page because it was all in caps and very difficult to read. Your punctuation and spelling is also extremely weak. I fucking went on to do a law degree, I'll have you know, and half a med sci degree, and a Bachelor of Arts, and postgraduate diploma in legal practice, but I might have been a bit weak back then. I suggest you have someone else read through it to edit these mistakes. The irony of that statement is about to come back. Just remember, they wrote, your punctuation and spelling is also extremely weak. I don't think you have grasped the key to screenwriting. I found your scene descriptions very difficult to follow visually, and consequently was not absorbed in the story. Have you ever seen a fucking David Lynch film? The only person that really understands David Lynch and the narrative and what's going on is David Lynch. But people still love his shit. Going on with Marnie's story here. You need to refine the amount of characters you want to concentrate on and develop these characters more. At the moment, the we don't really meet the main characters until a third of the way through the script, which doesn't give us much time to get to know them. That's what it says here. At the moment, the we don't. Just remember, my spelling and punctuation is extremely weak, but that's what was written here. The we. Blah, blah, blah. I was also at a loss as to the necessity of Ben's presence in the State Library and museum scenes. He really doesn't push the story forward at all. I haven't read the script for a long time, so I can't remember who Ben was. I would also advise you to do a major restructure of the storyline. The main issue of what Longview is trying to achieve, that's the head scientist, Dr. Longview, is achieve and why is not explored until the end of the piece. Just so you know, there's someone brings back this specimen from another country, and they put it in the Museum of Victoria, which is a beautiful building in Melbourne, historical building. It's like a labyrinth, and I used to work there. And that's why I was so enchanted by that location. I thought I'd write a script here. And anyway, this specimen gets out and starts killing people, and everyone has to kill it. So Longview is one of the protagonists, I remember, that is trying to defeat this monster. And then Matthew Riley, who's an Australian author, went and wrote a very, not a similar story, but a similar setting, partially similar. It was a monster trying to kill people in the Museum of Victoria, and they were running around trying to avoid it, and that was called Contest. It was like a game. Whereas mine was more of just straight horror film where you're stuck with a monster. And, being a big Alien fan, I thought it was a great premise, great setting, and predates Contest as well. So what else we go here? I mean, look, I will get to the end of this in a second, but the point is that if someone's, I'm sort of giving this person shit here, right? But if they really do give a shit about you, and they write you a page and a half, they actually are trying to help you. They've taken time out of their day to give you a bit of tough love and to smack you into reality and to help you not live in your deluded bubble anymore. But at the time, and subsequent to this and previous, I have had bad reactions to these kind of things because I didn't realize that, maybe these people are trying to, this is what a coach does, a coach in a football team or any situation or a corporate situation are going to put pressure, and let's put all assholes and bullying aside, but a lot of them are going to put pressure on people so they can get better. And when I was at acting school for 3 years, I did kind of realize that. And anytime you watch a show like American Idol or Australian Idol or whatever, and they're giving the whoever's auditioning a bit of shit and asking them to do something else, they're putting pressure on them to make them better. So we may not always agree with every scenario, but, and some of it can be clickbaity television just to see someone have a meltdown so you can get more views for your trailer, for your show. But I think by and large that this kind of feedback, if someone sat there for a day and a half, unless it was a slow day, they're giving me this harsh feedback, but they are trying to help me. But it is kind of funny. So where do we go? The main issue of what Longview is trying to achieve and why not explored until the end of the piece. If developed earlier, it could heighten the tension and also explain the relationship of the eco theme with the horror theme. At this point, the audience is at a loss as to what the main point is until Longview's final speech. I mean, I don't really go out of my way to be an environmentalist in the story, but I think there was more of a disdain about humans' effect on the earth as opposed to heal the world. It was more of the movie was probably more of a complaint than a solution. Okay, here we go, the next page. Finally, the film would require a budget far beyond Australian industry standards. This is something to take into consideration when writing for the Australian market. Well, I wasn't writing for the Australian market. I was writing big for the US market. If you were considering resetting this in the States, I should warn you that it is notoriously difficult to get the execs over there to even look at a screenplay set in the US written by an Australian writer, particularly an uncredited writer such as yourself. And so there's two ways I can interpret this, right? One is that, tough love, or you're a bit jealous. How dare I, some little anonymous scumbag, try and write this eco-themed horror story, and the audacity of me to do it. But sometimes you've just got to run into the fire and have a red-hot go and fall over, flatten your face, and get up. And look, listen to this. I'm sorry to be so negative, but I feel that honesty is the only policy. Fair enough. I suggest you do some reading on screenwriting and perhaps take some courses. Great advice. I did do that at the Australian Writers Guild, or you can go to AFTR's, Australian Film, Television, and Radio School. Please note that we cannot return scripts without stamped address postage, so forward some of your required blah, 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 blah. You can pick it up sometime. So, I don't think I ever picked it up. And I think that this was good advice, and I did get better from it. So I do thank you. And I know that over time, having, even when I worked in commercial radio, I got better with time. As an actor, I definitely got much better because I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to act. But Simon Callow, great actor, wrote a book called Becoming an Actor, and I only appreciated that title many years later when he said, I was kind of a crap actor, and so then I needed to learn to become a great actor. And I certainly think I became a lot better after acting school with that pressure. Some people, I think Guy Pearce, great actor. As far as I know, he just did Neighbours, and then he just started getting offers from Hollywood, and he learnt the trade on the set. So good on him. I did not have that level of talent, though I think I've gotten better over the time. So what else was I doing? I was trying to get good agents, right? And that's one of the real keys, because you can waste years of your life. So I was an actor. So I had to go read screenwriting, writing visuals for myself. I've still got, if you look at my channel, a project called Painted State, which I'm working on, which I've written for myself. And I think it's a vast improvement on stuff I've done previously. I think my ideas have always been sound. It's just the execution. And I'm never thought of myself as a screenwriter, but I just like the idea of just a scenario in my head and writing to it and letting it flow. And I think Werner Herzog does that. I think Lynch does that. I think Stephen King writes his novels like that. And I just, I can understand how in some circumstances you have to kind of play the game, and in others you may never get anywhere. So you just got to believe in yourself and do it. And if you fall flat in your face and you just keep doing that forever and you're happy with that, just keep doing it. And it's much more accessible now to do stuff cheaply. When I started trying to make a show reel or any of that stuff was just so expensive. Now you can knock it out on your phone in 5 minutes at very little expense. Here's my favorite rejection letter of all time. I sent this to Melbourne Artists Management in Albert Park in Victoria. I think they were a acting agency that might still be around, and this is a long time ago, and I sent it out in the 90s. This is the letter I wrote, right? And which I got back. And I keep this in a nice, this is the back of it, piece of plastic. And it says, "Dear so-and-so, my name is Steve, blah, 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 and I'm seeking a representation. For 7 years now, I've been actively pursuing an acting career. My experience includes television, film, theatre, and voiceovers. After moving here from Sydney 8 months ago, I've decided that it would be more beneficial to have a Melbourne-based representative. An agency of Melbourne artist management caliber would be ideal. Please find and enclose my CV, photo, and show reel. Hope to talk to you soon. Sincerely, Steve," surname, and then my details. And I got this back, and it came back in the mail. Fold it in half here because I don't want to reveal my own details. And my favorite rejection letter of all that, because all it came back with was not even, I don't even have a reply letter. It just said, oh, hang on, excuse me, I'm going to cough. Sorry, I just had a little coughing attack then, so I'm back. But this is my favorite rejection letter. I got this back, my own A4 piece of paper, and all it had on it as a response was a sticky note. And on that, it says the word no in a little circle. You can't really see it because OBS has got the alpha channel. So imagine that. You put all this effort in, you put a letter out there, very sincere, hand on heart, and then someone can't be fucked, and all they do is give you a sticky note, stick it on with no. But by the same token, it's very concise. So that is a little list of my favorite rejections. And then I do have some achievements here, right? That are like acceptances. I did go on to do a law degree. It's funny because when I got into my acting degree, I got such good results. And I won the Dean's Medal. That actually got me into a law degree. And then that got me into a medical science degree, but I was always looking, because I'd left home early, to get into education, because I'd had a terrible result HSC, which is your leaving certificate in Australia. So I just read through a few of these, right? But I was accepted into Bachelor of Aviation Studies, University of Western Sydney. This is over years that I got into the ANU, did a Bachelor of Arts there, started a Bachelor of Arts there. You got to put this in perspective, because I was moving around different radio stations trying to educate, and then every time I'd move, I'd have to reapply, or I couldn't work out exactly what I wanted to do. Postgraduate diploma in flying. That was a consideration after my uni degree, got into that. What else did we get into here? Acceptance of offer, Bachelor of Arts at UNSW. That's pretty good. I forgot I did that. Congratulations, application for admission has been considered, and you are offered a place in Bachelor of Arts at UNSW. I forgot I got accepted. That one. Same at Macquarie Uni. What else do we get here? Bachelor of Arts in Performance in the Pen. What did I won? I won a scholarship through the Penrith City Council. Got into Charles Sturt University. We told you that one. How about this one? Graduate Diploma in Information Technology at University of Technology, Sydney. There was one which was I looked at teaching. There was one where I got into information technology. I think there was how about this one? UTS, Sydney, St Leonard's, was Bachelor of Science in Biomedical Science and Forensic Biology, full time. And it goes on. And eventually I ended up doing a half a Bachelor of Medical Science at Charles Sturt University, which is still ongoing. Can't decide what to do. Just building backup plans. So, can't speak either. That's it, folks. That is me reading you rejection letters and telling you that they can't ignore you forever. You just keep going. It sounds simple, but whenever I feel under duress or I can't make it or whatever, self-doubt, I just think about Dave Goggins, who says who's had a pretty fucking tough life, that guy, and he just pushed through everything because he's physically and mentally, sort of calloused himself to deal with those kind of things. But I think that I have a high pain tolerance, certainly over the last 30 years, or maybe I am just deluded or fixated on enjoying it and achieving stuff in acting. And I'm very specific about what I want to do now at my in my 50s, which is and Alien's always been my standard science fiction. I've done period dramas in Australia. I've played a lot of cops, done theatre, done pretty much everything. And it's got to be the right project. Like the last theatre show I did, I had a big gap in my theatre, and the last one I did was a great show based on Let the Right One In. So it was horror and thriller-based and dark and like Swedish noir kind of play. John Wick 4, love that movie. Doing something like that. I've just done an action film with a mate of mine in Sydney, which is coming out soon. Just played a bikie in Last King of the Cross, which I absolutely love that role as well. So very specific about what I want to do. But I guess the point is that you eventually will be the last person standing if you stick at this thing long enough. It doesn't mean it's easy, but you should follow your dream. Follow your dream. Don't let anyone ever tell you can't do something, because they really, you might be wrong in so many ways, and you might be deluded, and you might not have the skills to match it. But if you stick at it long enough, you'll get there. But you just got to stay in the arena and not listen to all the bullshit about people telling you shouldn't be in there. And you're going to win in the arena. You're going to lose a lot, but it's just a matter of will you be the person that's still standing at the end of it? And if it's something that's intrinsic to you, then you more than likely will be. Because I remember when I started, say, as an actor in Australia and Sydney, I went to an extras agency twice and they rejected me there. They said, we've got too many people with your look as an extra. So I've gone from the ground up. So just think of any cliche about keeping going and all that sort of crap. And that's really, there's a lot of truth in that. At the end of the day, you just have to keep going and not accept no as an answer, and just keep evolving your skills. All right. Well, thanks for watching. That is the rejection letter video. And I hope to see you soon.